live. Okay, we're live, guys. Finally. I mean, we've been live on this side, but we were in live on this side, and now you can see all my cat stuff. Okay. My cats are going to be around no matter what. Okay, perfect. Woohoo! We made it. Uh-oh. I have another problem. We made it happen. Now I have another obstacle, but that obstacle might not be so hard to overcome because woohoo! I got it. And now I'm going to use what I was going to use to stream. I'm going to use it to talk about boundaries. So, boundaries. Woohoo! So, boundaries have become a very important topic of conversation for most. And please let me know if you can't hear me because I'll feel so stupid. No joke. If, hold on, now I realize something. I'm going to feel so stupid if I'm like trying to talk about all these things and then all of a sudden you guys can't hear me. And I have to leave in a few minutes. So this is just me testing, probando. And the light works for one, but doesn't work for the other. So let's do that. And hopefully we can use this video as like video one. Oh shoot, I didn't want to talk about boundaries. I was going to talk about mistakes. Okay, I skipped a thing or two. So can you hide? I have un pelito here that doesn't match with the rest of the pelitos. When? Okay. Anyway, okay, so let's talk about, I'm gonna change the topic because there's not a lot of you here anyway. So it's okay if I change the topic. It's not like you came because I scheduled talking about boundaries and agency, but I will talk about, that's another subject that it's important to talk about. But for now, we're going to talk about not that, not that, because that would be the second topic I wanted to talk about. And it is important. The order of things is important because it's like when we talk about something, we agree, we go, oh yeah, great, and then we move on to the next thing. So it kind of like builds rather than not building, meaning that we agree on certain things together. Did it copy it or not? Let me see. Just want to know if no. Keep touching the wrong things. Okay. We're going to have 30 minutes left before I have to go. So this conversation is going to be a little shorter than usual, and I apologize. I am trying to do a million things at the same time because I believe in myself. But then it might come across as like a little unprepared because it is. Because this is what happens since we're going to talk about mistakes, right? I was having this conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and it's like until you get started, you're not doing anything. So even if getting started means like making a ton of mistakes, which is what we're actually going to talk about, that's okay because at least you got started. So you started to like notice what the obstacles are going to be, right? Fear, resistance, those will keep you from doing anything because you think that you need to have everything in place before you start. And that's always been me. I'm not telling you because I'm better than that. I'm telling you because it's something that I'm working on. I haven't mastered it. It still haunts me that I always want things to be, at least the resources. I want all the resources to be there, which is different than having everything in place. But sometimes, hey, you don't have the resources. You don't have the money to pay other people to help you with certain projects, but you have to get it started because if you never do, this light is bothering me. Because if you never do, then you never know what you're going to need to do that thing. And then it never becomes the reality because you haven't started to like really believe it. And I am I am a true believer that I don't know how to do this one. That um almost everything is possible because I'm an optimist in a way. If you want to say it that way. I do believe that good things do happen. How do you do this? I apologize that I'm making pauses. Everything seems so complicated sometimes. Um, Everything seems so complicated sometimes. So seriously, all you have to do is like go for it, and you just how do you put a status here? Oh my god, I'm going crazy right now. Um, I love all these obstacles, but I used to be really hard on myself, and I think it was part of me not liking my own situation, and I'm mostly talking about the fact that I didn't have any school on me. I can't do this. Hold on, give me 1 second. I think I'm gonna fix it here. I hope I can fix it here. Doot, doot. Oh, I see what's happening. This is ridiculous. Okay. No. All right. I'm still working on this, guys. One, I should say everyone instead of guys, guys, guys. All right. Okay. I'm back. Thank you for being there. So now I was able to share it in one place. And then this is on Instagram. And then I'm going to share it in other places. Um, okay. So yes, most of the time we wait until all the things are there for us, right? Like I won't do this until that happens. I'm not gonna be happy until I have this and this and that, or and there are certain things that are a little bit more difficult to start than a live stream talking about important concepts. But everyone's journey is important, right? Like I I would say that whatever you're going through, if you can relate with the bigger concepts, that's all that matters, right? Because yeah, all or most scenarios will be different, but then hopefully when they connect is because you're trying to find a way to overcome it, and that's all we're trying to do here, right? Like I am just sharing tools that other people share with me that I can share with you that are helpful. So we're not going to talk about boundaries and agency, not today. No, 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 not today. We're going to talk about streetcar named Desire. I'm kidding. We're gonna talk about mistakes, making mistakes. So I'm gonna read to you guys what I found very helpful. Okay. I hope you are not driving because otherwise you'll fall asleep. I'm kidding. I'll keep it entertaining. I'll keep it funny. I hope. I don't feel that I'm funny today. Okay, defining a mistake, it seems, is almost as difficult as defining happiness. Oh my God, that's so true. Defining a mistake is as difficult as defining happiness. First of all, we turn to the dictionary, which offers us an incorrect, unwise, and unfortunate act or decision caused by bad judgment or lack of information or care. Look at this. It's so interesting and so important to remember the few definitions we have because it has nothing to do with humans being malicious or good or bad. It has to do with the wording that we all agree on the meaning of something. Is an incorrect, unwise, or unfortunate. Being incorrect, that means there is a correct way. Unwise means that there's like a lack of thought behind it, right? And then unfortunate means that it's like, oh, bad luck, that it could happen to anyone. And that's important for us to remember, right? And so this is the definition. It's an incorrect act or unwise act or unfortunate act. Or look at all the different definitions. We need to have different words for these things. I guarantee you that if we did that, everything would be much better. Or it's a decision caused by bad judgment, which could be missing information, right? Bad judgment or a lack of information. Oh, I think they're the same. Anyway, whatever. Or care. Or care. This is all the dictionary has to define a mistake. Now, when it talks about lack of care, a decision that was made because you didn't care, but they're all connected because you could not care because you didn't know enough. And you could be judging something terribly because you don't know enough. And I guarantee most of you that whenever you either place bad judgment or do something that makes you feel that you're judging something incorrectly, I guarantee you had to go back to streaming on my phone. But anyway, yes, ignorance, biggest human enemy. Just putting it out there. So they say, okay, that seems to cover it all more or less. We got chance, we got deliberate action, and we've got the physical or mental component. While seemingly useful, that definition is so broad that when parsed carefully, it becomes useless. I agree with that. This is why I like this article. We usually judge the severity of a mistake by the outcome or this scale of the consequences. A mistake that causes death is usually the most drastic, and that is why the procedures of doctors and pilots have been studied so intensively. A mistake can occur with the best information and the best intentions, or through carelessness or lack of knowledge. Although the definition of mistake can be fluid, I believe it stops being a mistake when deliberate wrongdoing or maleficence is involved. Granted, the line between the two can be very slim or virtually non-existent at times. That's true. Humans, we make everything a little bit more complex. Hey, what's up? Oh, I have to say hello to a lot of people. Thank you for joining, guys. So I have no one on the YouTube channel yet. Where are my subscribers and on my live? But I don't see anyone. You guys driving? If you're driving, that's a great time to listen to all of this because you're driving. And I'm not making it boring. I thought I was going to make it boring. What is all this? Okay. Don't worry about it, guys. That's me being super vain right now. Okay. So James Reason, I love the name of this person. It makes sense. Listen to this. His name is James Reason, and it makes so much sense because what I'm about to say. It's a professor of psychology at the University of Manchester in England, and he's written extensively on human performance, reason, and the prevention of errors in places of danger, places that are dangerous. I can't say the word today. Okay, so reason, just like anyone that likes thinking, studying, scholars, right? And then also like influencers. We all like the 3 tips to have the 5 things that you shouldn't do, the 2 things. That's us. That's what we do. All right, so there are 12 systemic human factors. Factor-centric principles, sorry. So there are 12 systemic human factor-centric principles of error management. So if you keep in mind it's 12 factors, then it's easier for you to manage mistakes, which means You're not trying to avoid them, but you're trying to minimize them by understanding the mistakes, right? So there are 12 human factors, right? So to remember. So number one, human error is both universal and inevitable. So human error is not a moral issue. Human fallibility can be moderated, but it can never be eliminated. Um, because we're human. And that's what we keep saying over and over, right? Oh, because we're human, we make mistakes. Um, Something that's super topical, well, not right now, but I guess a few weeks ago was the whole song with like Shakira singing to Piqué about um their whole relationship or whatever happened to the relationship or how she feels about the relationship. And a lot of people kept saying like, "Oh, he made a mistake. He made a mistake. He made a mistake." But then it's a word like we just agreed that means so many things, right? Like, what is a mistake? Because if we find the right wording for these human errors, I think we'll be able to also know like what's okay and what's not okay. Like, what doesn't count as a mistake, but it's this other thing. And I think we could use the word cheating because mistake is a little bit too broad. So, hi. So, that's so weird. My mom sent me a message. I have to call her back. I'll call her back. So I have to drive, and I'm not gonna do a live stream while I'm driving. I thought about it, but I was like, I'm not gonna do that. Oh my goodness. Okay. So human error is universal and is inevitable. Then then my mother keeps writing messages to me right now. I love you too. Errors are not intrinsically all bad. So success and failure spring from the same psychological roots. Without them, we could neither learn nor acquire the skills that are essential to safe and efficient work. So I think this one is more talking about how, and it used to happen to me more when I was younger, and it still kind of happens to me with some software. Like, you know, when you're an immigrant, name of my next show, write it somewhere. You're all invited. We have to pay for your tickets. Uh, my mom keeps writing, so you're all witnessing me seeing my mom's messages. So when when we make sorry, no, I was talking about being an immigrant. So when you're an immigrant and you, for example, come to America, and I don't know if immigration is different depending on like from what country to what country, right? But I would say that if the reason why you're immigrating is because of survival and because the resources of where you're coming from are low, and if also on top of that you were a little bit ignorant of a lot of things, then one of the strategies you're going to use to like kind of blend in and survive is to pretend like you know, right? Like you know the whole thing of faking to make it. That's very immigrant, right? Like you come to the country. In my case, I went to high school kind of right away. So it was either I was gonna cry and suffer everywhere and let everyone know that I was not having a good time because nothing was under my control and I didn't know anything. Or I could do what I did, which is I kind of followed the flow. Like I faked it until people caught me not understanding. So people would talk to me in English and I would nod and be like, yeah, 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 whatever, yeah, 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 I understood you, but not really. I wasn't understanding anything. So that's the faking part of it. So I couldn't understand people. I couldn't understand teachers, songs. Like somebody would tell me blah 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 blah, blah, and I would be like, "Oh yeah, cool." I would just pretty much mirror their energy. And then the only people that will catch me are the people that don't have a lot of energy when they speak. Then they were like, "You have no idea what I'm talking about." And I remember, anyway, I don't want to get into the stories of my high school years, but it's true. It's something you learn as an immigrant, you just, yeah, you're not gonna be stopping the flow of anything. You're like, no, 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 let's continue being who you are with me here, okay? Like I'm not even here, but I am. So I'm gonna pretend like everything is good and I agree with everything you say. Um, so part of the problem with being like that is when you get a job. My first job was a Burger King. I didn't do anything too out of there. I hope. I don't remember either. But what I do know, don't know. You're not gonna jump up here. I can bring you up here if you want. Come here. Let me show you. To the world. All right. This is my primogenita, my very first baby. So, and she wants to be part of the life. She actually wants to be part of the life. She's so funny. So what happens when you keep kind of faking it until you make it, or like continuing the flow, is that somebody might give you very important instructions of something and they go, did you understand? And you, because you've been developing this horrible habit of like being agreeable just for fear of like causing a traffic jam of flow. Okay, I think she got bored. That's not good for me. You keep saying, yeah. You just say, yeah, you don't understand. You're just like, yeah, move on. Yeah, I'm good. Trust me, whatever. So what happened was, I remember, I think it was when I worked as a manager, I was like 18. Yeah, I had to be 18. Otherwise, I don't think they could have given me a manager position. I was 18 and I remember this lady, she was super nice. She was a Puerto Rican woman. And I never told her like, hey, it would be easier or better if you talk to me in Spanish. I think she spoke to me in English most of the time. And I was like, see, yeah, whatever, right? So she gave me a set of instructions and I said, yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand. And then I was alone on the floor and it was my responsibility. A bunch of things were my responsibility. And I apologize if I'm not describing the little story with a lot of detail, but it was a long time ago, okay? I was 18. It's been a while. Right? So, so then after, I think it was like 2 days after I started training, and I said, yeah. I made a mistake. And I think it was a big one. It had to do something with like, if you don't print this report and you don't do this other thing, then because at the end of the night you have to hit clear, and if you don't print the report and you hit clear, everything is cleared and we don't have the report of that day, and that shouldn't happen. But I think it was what happened, because I said yeah, I understand, yes I understand, and I didn't, and I messed it up. It was one of those moments where I understood that I needed to write things down and like stop doing the whole like, yeah, I understand, when I didn't. But imagine, part of understanding another language or being immersed in a different culture is the ability you have of like making a lot of assumptions quickly, because you don't have time. Like imagine trying to read a book. Like when you're in high school in America, like there's a lot of books that you're supposed to read. It's part of like your assignments. And I was reading The Giver and The Firm. And I didn't speak English. Can you imagine if I really tried to comprehend every word that I already didn't know? And actually, I started that way. And I think I threw away the books. But when I had the books, I had so many things written all over the books because all the words were new to me, all of them. And even the words that were new, because of the nature of English, you can get the same verb and write it in like so many different ways. Verb, and write it in like a million different ways, right? So I would be like, oh, this is the past of that other verb that I don't even know. So it becomes so much work and so overwhelming that you end up just making assumptions, and you're like, oh yeah, I understand. You don't understand. So that's how it happens. Like you train your brain to assume, make assumptions, just keep going. And then when a piece of information that was important was given to you and they asked, like, do you understand? Or do you agree with me? And you said yes. Not only you did not pay attention fully to the instructions that were given to you, but then on top of that, you weren't aware that you weren't really understanding the whole thing. Because sometimes it is that. Sometimes it's the lack of awareness that you're actually understanding all the details of that instruction, especially those people. I'm about to talk about a pet peeve. I shouldn't talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it because nobody's here. um, I have a thing with people that say I don't like writing things down because I know their brain isn't that good because no one's brains are that good. These are like studies that have been done to humans. No one's brains are able to hold a lot of information unless you're exposed to that information daily and all the time. So if some sort of information is new to you, you're not going to retain it by the person just giving you like 20 details. You're going to forget at least one or not have the specifics of it. So the best way is to write it down, even if you ended up not needing the piece of paper, but write it down. I hate people that don't write stuff down because those are the usual or the typical employees that you had to supervise that always made mistakes. And it's because they didn't write things down. And it was me. That was me too. So I understand where it comes from. You're like lazy, you're tired, you don't think it's that important. And only by making the mistake and then feeling very inadequate or dumb or feeling embarrassment and like you get someone in trouble. Like I remember back then I really liked this lady, she was my boss, but I really liked her. I didn't mean to get her in trouble with the CEO or the regional manager, so I felt really really bad about that mistake. And it isn't, and that's why this part is, that's what this part is trying to say. I had to tell a whole freaking story. I think I'm ready to be a grandmother now. Because I tell this whole story just to say that errors are not intrinsically bad. Meaning, if you make a mistake, to be able to learn something and then never forget that, then that mistake was 1,000,000% worth it. Because you felt so bad or sad or inadequate that then you'll never make that mistake again. We have 7 minutes, class. So yeah, and I agree with that. I agree that sometimes, depending on the mistake, of course, if it's with human lives, I don't think you should start by killing people, like, oh, I'm a pilot, and then my very first few flights, I just crashed the plane. Like that's not, or as a doctor, you had to kill a few patients before you understood that it was important to pay attention. I don't think that should be the thing for some things. So I guess it depends on the mistake. Third factor. I only have 7 minutes. Okay. Third factor. You cannot change the human condition, but you can change the conditions in which humans work. I love this one so much. And I love it. I'm going to tell you why. I love it because I used to work at a diner that had a bar. I used to work there in the mornings, weekends, where it was the busiest. And there was only one bartender that did everything, service and took care of the bar. And I actually wanted to keep it that way because it was more money. So it was more work and more money. I love that. But anyway, then this will be the last story, and then we have to like come back to talking about mistakes another day. The story goes like this. So a new manager is hired. I had already been working in that place for a while. And this woman made my life impossible, meaning the conditions in which I was working. And let me tell you something, this place where I worked at never had the proper conditions for anything. So you had to really get there to organize everything and clean everything and put things in place. And there were like, at one point I don't know if I should say this in the live, because a lot of people know where I used to work. Well, we had some pest happening. We had a pest situation happening there. But anyway, the conditions were not that good. But it depends on the conditions. Like, for example, my personality, I was able to deal with that. That was fine with me. I was like, well, these are the things that are happening. I have choices, right? I don't work here, or I work here and I deal with this, and how am I going to deal with it? And then I found my way through it, and I was fine with the money I was making. But then I realized that it is really hard for me to work with leaders that don't know how to lead. Meaning, I don't think she knew what was important for the restaurant, therefore for her, therefore for all of us, therefore I couldn't stand her stupid ideas. I'm serious. So, because I've had to work so hard in my life, and this might be an immigrant problem, to be honest with you. But like having to learn another language and having to prove yourself, and every time I speak, I mispronounce a word, people automatically assume I'm dumb as hell. So then I have to like work against that, like all these other difficulties that we have as humans, or not all humans, but some of us, right? I feel like I really expect and need a certain level from a leader to not be so frustrated, right? And this woman, this leader, manager, whatever she was, she just drove me insane. Like I was at one point I was training her, and I'm like, "Oh, this is wrong." But I was doing it with love and like with the intention of like, okay, well, if I teach you this and you're learning now, then we don't have to deal with that anymore. But it was like a recurring thing. So my work conditions changed. And then on top of that, when she realized how much money I was making, um, she thought that she was God. And she's like, we need to distribute the money a little bit better. We can hire another person. And I'm like, I'm not asking you for that, but if you want to do it, you're a manager, you do whatever you want to do. And then she would put people to work with me that were like so bad. So then I was like, okay, well, it's time for me to move on because the conditions are making me not as good and efficient as I used to be. So I made a great decision of leaving. But all of that to say that if you are overseeing or supervising a group of people and you have the task of making sure that the mistakes are minimized, and I will never say that mistakes are not made, mistakes are always happening, but if your task is to like minimize the amount of mistakes that this group is having, what you have to do is verify, especially if you're the leader, especially if you're the supervisor. You have to be aware of the work conditions of this group of people. Like, what are the conditions that they're working on? What are they complaining about? And this is the problem with bad leadership. And I have a video that I can share with you guys about bad leadership. We live in a time that is really stupid not to communicate as much as we possibly can. Meaning, and I don't mean for managers, like information coming from managers. That's not what communication means, first of all. What I mean by communication is the more you listen and ask questions, the better. Ask questions. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. Like I said before, I know the principles and the theory. It doesn't mean I apply them all the time. But if you ask enough questions and you listen, listen, then you're able to really change the variables that are in your control to change to then be able to help employees succeed, or for some group of humans to make less mistakes, right? That's all that that's saying here. Human condition, you can change your human condition. I have to go. I gotta start driving because the academy is like, it's not that far away, but because of traffic at this time, it becomes impossible to get there. But I appreciate all of you for passing by, saying hello, listening to me. And I hope, and we have one, two, three. Oh my God, I only went through three. I have a few more that I wanted to talk about, but because there's not a lot of people in. It's really hard to do this because I don't have any input and I'm so used to always having like a ping pong kind of thing. But anyway, I gotta go. Love you all. Thank you for putting up with my chaos. Bye. Um, I don't know how to share that. Okay. Oh, lucky. Here.